Right. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen. It's been a couple of days, well actually it's been more than a couple of days now I think, since we last did some Final Fantasy XIV 3.x stuff, but I've decided this evening to get the quote-unquote end, such as it is, of the Heavensward Dragon Song stuff out of the way. Unfortunately, I've set this up really wonkily today. We're going to start off by looking at the patch content. So this is what is in 3.3. You'll notice that at the time this came out, they just hit the 6 million players mark, so it was quite a big thing. So what was in this patch? Well, we've got Litany of Peace, which is the main scenario stuff, and there's quite a lot to do with Estinian, to do with Alphino, sadly, to do with Nidhogg in this patch. We've got some more Hildebrand, we've got some more Warring Triad. Actually, yes, I think this is the second of the three rather. The Acropolis was introduced in this patch, which is something that you can do with maps that you gain from fishing, I believe. And it's like Palace of the Dead in a certain extent, but it's for all people. You find a chest out in the open world, it opens up a portal to the Acropolis, and you go through and fight a series of little bosses, and there's kind of a gambling element to it. I don't know exactly how it works because I've never really done it. Palace of the Dead was updated, and I think this gave us the ability to was this the one? Actually no, was this when Palace of the Dead was released? Yeah, this might actually have been when Palace of the Dead was originally released. The final steps of faith is the big boss fight against Nidhogg and his three followers, who, if you've done any of the fates in the Churning Mist, you will know reasonably well. New PvP map in the Fields of Glory Shatter, which I actually have done twice and didn't really enjoy because it's PvP. The Weeping City of Mach was released in this, one of the most visually impressive of the 24-man raids, including some really cool looking gear, and Katsith, or Katshi as it should technically be pronounced. Also culminating, I believe, in the battle versus Ozma, which again, I've not done the Weeping City of Mach. In fact, I really very much regret not having done the Weeping City, because it, as I say, it's supposed to be very, very cool and very kind of story and lore driven, and that's kind of my thing. The new dungeons in this particular patch were Sorkai, which is the story dungeon, where we have to go and convince Freysvalga to help us against Nidhogg, and Hullbreaker Isle Hard, which is a bit of a weird one actually, because as you can see, it's got the Maelstrom colours everywhere, and it's basically a training ground set up by the Maelstrom to get people going in and training. More stuff to do with the animal weapon. Can't remember which of the steps this is. Oh, this is the yeah, this is the actual levelling up step. Beast Tribe quests, which is to do with the Moogles, who are all getting blotto. I hear the Moogle quests are quite good for levelling up crafters. Two quite important things though. One, which you'll have seen me use quite a lot, is the recommended gear thing, which was a great way of selecting the optimal gear for your character without having to manually go through it and look at everything. And also the raid finder. New hairstyles, including this delightful pompadour style thing. New crafting recipes for crafters. New mounts. Birdies and Pegasi. Some new minions including this really cute tentacle thing, which I don't think I've got. Some new emotes and some flower pots that you could use in your house to grow flowers inside and harvest them for seeds and stuff like that. So all in all, quite a lot of stuff in this patch. So here we are. Nothing much. I don't think I've done anything on this character since last we logged out. I have done a few things on my main, however. Right, just before I continue, I am going to check. Dum, dum. Bum, bum, bum. Right, I'm just going to double check that the microphone and stuff is working okay and that the stream is actually... I would do if this was actually... Dum 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 dum. Okay, that seems to be working quite nicely indeed. So let us continue with Revenge of the Horde. If you remember, at the end of 3.2 we got a choice of coffers for the melee stuff. Now we get a choice for the ranged, the healers, or the ranged caster DPS. Ah, Mr. Thornley, it is well that you are here. You are wanted within. I believe Master Alphino, great, wishes a word with you. Oh good, we get to talk to Alphino. Because that is how we must start all conversations with Alphino. Ah, Demajen, there you are. Have you a moment? There's something I would fain discuss. I must ask you to recall the events which unfolded at the peace conference, though I dare say you would sooner forget them. Again, this is, as it does in a lot of the patches, it does a little recap of asking you to cast your mind back to what happened, because it's been 3 months or so since the last major story patch. My mind returns again and again to the moment when Nidhogg appeared before the crowd in the guise of Estinian. It was a sight to chill the soul, but one which gave me reason to hope that our friend might not be beyond salvation. When you described his fateful transformation at Azislar, I feared him lost forever, but the mere fact that some semblance of his former self endures must surely count for something. Alas, I have no evidence to support this impression. Thus did I turn to Ishchol and Croyle for more empirical appraisal, and full glad am I that I did, for it would seem they have some observations of their own to share. The ladies have saved us a table at the Forgotten Night. Shall we go? Nod. Excellent. Let us not keep our honoured colleagues waiting. The slight over formality still bothers me a little bit in this. You know, Alphino calling them colleagues. It's like they're friends. Also bothering me is still that clipping through the head. In fact, can we... Just for now, I'm going to have to turn that off because it bothers me so much. Okay, Croyle.
We have kept you waiting over long, I fear.
As always.
Not to worry, Alphino. We had some rather fine mulled wine to keep us company. Truth be told, you could have delayed your arrival a few moments more.
Ha, Kryl is a pisshead, confirmed.
Gibrion got the spicing just right this time. His latest batch is not only delicious and warming, but soothing to the humours.
So it's medicinal.
Indeed. But 'twas not to soothe our humours that we gathered here.
Ah, no, quite right. The matter of that poor dragoon.
You have discovered something. A means to save him?
Let us not jump to conclusions, shall we? Assess the facts presented, then make an educated analysis, as you were taught.
Pray, cast your mind back to the moment of Estinian's transformation. Do you recall how you described it to us?
No.
You spoke of the sudden pangs which racked his body when he took up both of Nidhogg's eyes, and of how his form was twisted thereafter into a shadowy semblance of the Great Worm.
Yes, okay, I do vaguely remember that.
When he appeared at Falcon's Nest, the worm's eyes were fused to his mail.
That is true.
Would that only his armor had been corrupted. Snaking forth from the eyes, I descried dark tendrils which entangled his very being. His ether has been all but smothered.
So he's in a bit of a bad state then.
Then he is lost to us forever?
What did I just say about jumping to conclusions? Y'shtola clearly stated all but smothered. As I later discovered, her impression matched my own. Though Nidhogg's presence filled my mind's eye, beneath his seething aura, I sensed the merest hint of something else.
Mulled wine? No.
And after listening to Y'shtola's observations, I became more certain of my suspicion, that the something else I'd sensed was, in fact, the trace of a different will, submerged in the sea of Nidhogg's rage.
So Estinian is still in there, just about holding on.
You mean...
Yes, Alphino, don't be dense.
Yes, 'tis like that Estinian spirit yet lingers.
Can we not wrest him from Nidhogg's grasp then? Tear the eyes from the armor?
We know not if that would serve to separate Worm's soul from man's. None have ever attempted such a feat.
Should it offer even the faintest hope of success, then by the gods, I shall be the first to try.
Alphino. By all means, hold fast to your hope, but be mindful of the dangers. Even should you succeed in excising the eyes from the dragoon's mail, we have no way of knowing if your friend's soul would survive so violent a separation. And that is to say nothing of the possibility that his would-be savior might become Nidhogg's next host.
So, all in all, not a good plan.
But what other choice remains to us? Should the opportunity present itself, I will tear those foul orbs from Estinian's armor and trust in the resilience of his soul, even at the risk of mine own.
Ah, I found you at last.
Ah, Onawa. We're always in the pub, don't you know?
A messenger of the Temple Knights came to the manor some few hours past. The Lord Commander humbly requests the company of the Warrior of Light and Master Alphino.
Sir Emmerich would speak with us. Very well, thank you, Onawa.
"'Twould seem duty calls. Pray see to yours, and we shall return to ours."
Thank you, Y'shtola, Kryl. Your words have given me hope where there was none. Come then, Sir Emmerich awaits.
At our leisure.
Alphino is allowing his feelings for this dragoon to cloud his thoughts. I worry he may do something rash. Keep an eye on him, would you?
Do we have to? Can't we just leave him to his own devices and get him killed? Oh, hello, my godsummer.
They think more of their friends' deliverance than their foes' defeat. But will history commend their fealty or condemn their folly?
Yes. In trying to save Estinian, are we doing more harm than good?
The conference held at Falcon's Nest was to be a celebration of the reconciliation twixt man and dragon. But the lingering shade of Nidhogg, clad in the flesh of the Azure Dragoon, did mark the occasion by spilling the blood of his own kind. A timely atrocity to remind the children of Ishgard that the Dragonsong War was far from over. And when fear gave way to fury, the call to arms rang out anew. Death to Nidhogg! Death to Nidhogg!
Yes. What news has Sir Emmerich to share with us, I wonder? Don't know, but he's got some food for us. Might Sir Emmerich perchance have received word of a Dravanian advance? Or perhaps they've located Estinian. That is to say, maybe Nidhogg has been found. Come, I'd hear what the Lord Commander has to say. Hi guys.
My friends, I thank you for coming.
You have had news of Nidhogg?
Alas not. Our scouts range far and wide, but they have as yet found no trace of the Great Worm.
Yes, where is he?
We dispatched an elite unit of dragoons to reconnoiter the churning mists, but even they returned empty-handed.
A pity.
Fear not, Alphino. We shall see the worm again soon enough. His words at Falcon's Nest attest to that.
Yes. Yes, he's going to come and try and kick our asses.
Indeed, he is like to come sooner than we would wish.
I assume Ishgard's defenses are being bolstered as we speak?
With all haste. I mean to call upon every able-bodied warrior at our disposal, from the Knights of the Four Houses to the men and women of the Watch. But I did not summon you to discuss strategy.
Oh.
What then would you have of us, my lord?
I will speak plain. Now that Nidhogg is possessed of both of his eyes, no mortal force we can muster will repel him. That being the case, we must needs recruit an ally of equal strength.
You speak of Hraesvelgr?
Yes, yes he does.
I do. To whom else could we turn?
That he is Nidhogg's equal I do not deny, nor can I name another. But convincing the reclusive creature to do battle with his own brood brother will be... how shall I put this?
It will be no small undertaking, yes. Estinian's report was most particular about Hraesvelgr's unwillingness to involve himself in the affairs of men. but much has changed since your visit to Somal. And if there is even a chance that the dragon may be swayed, I must plead our case. Whatever price the dragon asks of me, I shall pay it. Such was my oath, to defend the people of Ishgard. Come what may, my friends, the battle with Nidhogg will mark the end of my tenure as the acting head of church and state. Will you help me discharge this final duty?
Yes, yes we will.
We will, my lord, though I fear our involvement offers no guarantee of success. Come then, we will depart at your leisure.
Thank you. Both of you. The city is yours, First Commander.
My lord, we shall pray for your swift return.
Yes, so this is the patch where shit goes down, basically. And that swift return that Lucy is talking about is timely indeed. Quite an artfully framed shot there. It grieves me to impose upon you in this manner, but you of all people understand the threat we now face. It is no imposition, Sir Emmerich. To Demajen and I, Ishgard is as a second home. After the many battles we have fought and the bonds we have forged, the plight of your nation has become our own. If there is anything we can do to aid in its salvation, then pray impose all you must. Not. You are true friends. Shall we be about our task, then? We have no way of knowing when Nidhogg's shade will strike, but we must assume that time is not our ally. Indeed. With that in mind, I have taken the liberty of dispatching a messenger to inform Mistress Tataru that you will be escorting me to Somal. I confess, I did not provide the exact details of our destination, as they are as yet unknown to me. We will summon her Hraesvalgur at Zenith in the Churning Mists. Here we begin our ascent, however. I think it best that we pay a visit to Annick's Shrine. You seek an advantage in the coming negotiations? I do. I would consult with Vidofnir. I propose this in part out of concern for her condition. Were she to succumb to her wounds, it would have grave consequences for our alliance. That apart, she may be able to provide insight into her sire's current state of mind. Well reasoned. True the Dravanian Forelands, then. Has to be said, character looks really weird without a weapon. I wonder if somebody's ever done a run through of the story in FF14 without using teleport at all. That'd be an interesting jaunt, no doubt. Vidofnir, how you doing? Ah, 'tis the warrior of warriors and her companions. What bringeth you to mine abode? Pray, forgive us for disturbing your recuperation, Vidofnir. I hope your wound does not pain you overmuch. Didst thou imagine me close to death? The thrust was deep, but not mortal. I will heal in time. Full glad am I to hear it. You were the guest of honour at our conference, and we failed in our duty of protection. On behalf of Ishgard, I apologise unreservedly. I am a dragon full grown, and thou thought to protect me, mortal? I was tempered by the fires of battle before thy great-grandsire learned to crawl. Thy words do remind me of a knight who uncalled friend some 1,000 years past. He swore to defend me from harm and hardship. Would that we could return to that era of peace when man and dragon knew such comradeship. Would that our every effort to do so were not undone by ancient rancour. For a truth, there can be no peace while Nidhogg's shade lingereth. That much is plain, yet we lack the strength to banish him. Thus do we make for some isle to beseech the aid of your sire once more. Folly. Thou knowest as well as I how he will answer. For his father's heart remains unchanged then. A pity. But if it is folly to hope, I am content to die a fool. As hath ever been the way with thy kind. Go then, but be warned, the Shade's presence have driven its minions to frenzy. Thank you, Vidofnir. We shall disturb your rest no longer. Tanking food. We shall have need of that, as there will be a dungeon coming up soon. That went as well as could be expected. And now we need to win over the worm. Though I expected no better answer from Vidofnir, I take little pleasure from having been proven right. It would seem that our presence at Zenith will be every bit as unwelcome as I had anticipated. But what is the ire of one great worm to a trio of self-confessed fools such as ourselves? Let us begin our ascent. After you, Master Arfano. Scatter ahead if you wish. We shall join you outside Mogholm. In other words, we can teleport there. Bum, 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 bum. Let's just take a moment to appreciate the beauty of the churning mists. I know I often talk about FF14 from a writer's perspective, and I do tend to moan about the texture quality at times, but the use of colour palettes in this particular zone is very, very impressive. All of the kind of calm blues, the neutral whites, and then you've got those deep purples over there, and every now and again punctuated by the bright pink of something Moogle related. It is really very impressive. Probably one of the prettiest zones in the game. I'd heard tales of the world above the clouds, but never did I dream. One's mind paints a pale picture of its majesty. Of course, this is the first time he's been here. If you live to see such wonders, I am reminded of my first visit to this peak when Estinian and his elves yet walked at our side. Hello? Kapopo? Is that you, Demajen? Ah, if it isn't Mug. Don't tell me you've forgotten my name, Crabbo, after all we've been through together. At least you remember me. You do remember me, don't you, Demajen? This is Moglin, isn't it? Hey, how could you mistake me for that overstuffed throne warmer? I'm Moglin. Oh yes, Moglin's the king. The courageous Moogle who guided you to Zenith, Kupo. But, putting our shared history to one side, what brings you and your friends to Moghome, Kupo? We're going to go and piss off Hreysvalga. Ah, another audience with old Hreysvalga. Well, I hope you brought the horn, Kupo. What with the winds as gentle as they are, a good loud toot should reach the Great Worm's ears easily enough. That is good to hear, Morgan. Thank you. We'd best press on to the Zenith while the winds are in our favour. Nods. I think I got that wrong the first time as well. Ah, that was unexpected, Kupo. Chieftain Moglin will want to hear about this. Oh, yes, of course, because the Moogles and the King are the first boss in the upcoming dungeon. Yep, definitely at its most impressive during nighttime hours. A quest for. Okay, let us toot the horn. You dare summon me again, mortals?
Great Hreysvalga, 'tis not lightly that we beg this audience. Pray hearken to our words, for they concern the future of man and dragon both.
Greetings, Hreysvalga. I am Emmerich de Burrell, acting ruler of the nation of Ishgard.
That's the first time, I believe, that we've heard Emmerich's surname.
I am come before you to parley on behalf of my people.
Parley? Yes, Hreysvalga is a little bit ahead of us.
You foresaw mine intent.
But read that which is writ plain in your eyes, but that you had wit enough to scry the answer in mine.
Alleen in esk tishmi, I en uldran fakin an shin.
My beloved Shiva did once build a bridge between man and dragon, a bridge which thy treacherous forefather saw fit to tear down, as you well knowest.
Lis ech nitheg kasmon ikin in, lis nuan jas an es in, salen mon an es, undahai in.
Do you think Nidhogg was alone in despairing of the murder of our brood sister? Do you think mine own soul did not cry out for vengeance? Know then that upon that cursed day my heart did wither in my breast, and your kind became unto me the harbingers of despair.
Stapol I an I nitheg, shin hes iso, al nor fa is in an.
It's only Shiva's gentle dream that prevents me from flying at Nidhogg's shoulder. Be grateful that I swore off aggression before I consumed her.
Set osk, kom I nitheg kin an, nosk de gan en.
I permit my children to offer or deny you aid as they see fit, to warn thy people of my brood brother's coming. That thou would dare ask more of me, but confirms your incurable arrogance.
We understand that in your despair at man's betrayal, you seek only the refuge of solitude. But despite your protestations of spent faith, do you not still nurture the smallest flame of hope?
Hes da dai lai in.
You see such light in the dusk of mine existence.
I do. If you claim I see falsely, then tell me, why did you consent to bear Rizel upon your back?
Piteous, deluded Azel, the child did lament her past sins and sought to balance the scales with her remaining days. 'Twas her unquenchable passion so alike to that of my beloved which did spur me into flight. And for mine own part, I would countenance no longer the hands of evil men to use my brood brother's eye for ill.
So you do distinguish between those who acknowledge and repent their sins and those who perpetuate them. Interesting. It seems to me that you have not, in fact, lost faith in mankind as a whole. Rather, you weigh our respective merits by how we allow the past to influence our future.
Spare me your idle flattery. Even were there a mote of truth in their reasoning, what of it? Would you have me slay my own sibling to save a city of mortals?
Should we suffer ties of blood to bind our hands, then? Nay, if the crime is one of unconscionable evil, we must needs condemn it, even should the transgressor be our closest kin. When my father corrupted himself and his followers with the power of a primal, I beseeched the Warrior of Light to slay him, an act alike to patricide. That he did not die by my hand matters little. If anything, it heaps greater disgrace upon my name. But had my father not fallen, he would have drawn countless thousands into a holy war of hellish proportions, which I hold the greater crime. Thus did I order his execution, sparing the lives of my people and yours. Alas, your brother Worm now prepares to murder those whom I sought to spare. What is more, he has taken my comrade's body for his own. But if I must slay my dearest friend to defeat my direst foe, I will not flinch from my duty.
Segmon infin, sesc antis ekmon, kin al ud.
You would strike down your friend and by example of your righteousness persuade me to break my oath and kill my kindred. Daddy time.
Sloskna, dyrkin illes, kol hes nar inish, draor in.
Heed me, my child, the servants of Hydaelyn envision a different outcome. They intend salvation not only for Ishgard, but for the doomed Dragon Slayer as well.
Daniteg, Ngarjas, Nosk in an, Slisva Holkas, Kain na.
Yes, so here's the question. Is it really Nidhogg, or did Estinian slay him in the Eyrie as we initially suspected? Is this not something akin to a summoning shadow of his rage, desire?
Esgniteg, esgdir ulgar an, el in an, hes nesh an, jas.
Nidhogg's transformation into rage incarnate is, in part, mine own doing. I rendered unto him mine eye and empowered his revenge, but 'tis the purity of his wrath that lendeth him his all-surpassing might. Have you the strength of will to stand against so terrible a shadow, I wonder? 'Twould seem I must put you and your companions to the proof. I shall await thee in the ruins where Ratatoska once dwelled. Heed well the words of my children, and hasten thee to the place of thy trial. Oops. So we're going to Ratatoska's home. To Sokai. Yep. Okie dokie. So, we've not exactly convinced Hraesvelgr to help us, but he's agreed to put us to the test. I believe I spied a wyvern landing just outside the palace. It is doubtless one of the children of whom Hraesvelgr spoke. Come, my friends, let us not keep our escort waiting. So they are going to take us to Sokai. My broodmate and I will bear you to the place of your trial. Make your preparations. The duty finder has been updated with a regular duty. Okay. Sorkai. Majestic and forgotten, its existence unrecorded in the annals of man, a palace rests atop the clouds in the furthest reaches of the churning mists. This skyborn splendour was once home to Ratatoska, brood sister to Hreysvalga and Nidhogg, until the treachery of mortals ensured that its stories would never again ring under the she-worm's talons. Sorry, that its stones. Didn't think stories made sense. The dragons name it Sorkai, a grieving apology for their failure to avert her fates, and they watched with infinite sadness as Ratatoska's empty roost was overrun by birds and beasts. This is the place Hreysvalga has chosen for your trial. Prove yourself in the faded shadow of one sibling, and convince the great worm to aid you against the wrathful shade of another. Alright. Just before we do that, I'm going to stretch my legs. One moment. Right, and those are the kind of queue timers we like. So, this is Sorkai, which, weirdly enough, is a dungeon I actually tanked yesterday. So, I know where everything is. So, we're going to start off by fighting these big blocks. You'll notice that they're asleep. You don't actually have to fight them both at a time. They take a certain amount of damage before they wake up. They're not particularly damaging. Then we get some enemies that we haven't seen much of recently. These enchanted fans are quite interesting. Man, these guys are doing a lot of damage. They've got a knockback back. Also, you can go over their bodies like that to get a haste buff, which lasts for 15 seconds, which is rather weird. I believe this is the only time you see some of these Sanctini mobs in a dungeon. This tree actually has a lot of hit points, and if you've got a low DPS party, it can probably be worth taking out the Sanguini's first. We don't have a low DPS party. Waking them all up's the fun part. Oh jeez, he's already got that one down. The Samurai is doing work. Oops. Whee. And this will take us up to the first boss, who you can probably guess as to the identity of. It's Moglin. Right. You and your ridiculous name won't make it past me. Okay. So he's got a few attacks that can do some nasty damage to the tank. But he also summons, just like in the Thornmarch, bites. Does his holy attack, and what you want to do is when he starts casting this, you want to hit Moogles out of the circles. If they're in the circles when the circle goes off, they get rezzed. To be honest, he's actually going to die before he gets to do that again. Jeez, that's a lot of DPS. Whee! Okay, this takes us up to the next part, which is these lovely gardens. And in these gardens, there are lots of birdies. Ooh, I fucked that up. You want to face these away from your party because they do this lovely cone attack constantly. This Onzu appears straight away. I don't recommend fighting him and the cockerel at the same time. But again, we've got so much DPS here that it's actually not so bad. You definitely wouldn't be facing the big Anzu away from everybody else because his cone hits everyone Oh no. Back here. Do, 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 do. Must remember to use Soul Survivor a bit more. These three don't actually come as one pack. You can pull the Suicides now separate from Kargas if you want to. It's not a huge amount of point in doing so, because they don't really hit all that hard. But yeah, this Griffin patrols all the way up there. Right, second boss is up here. The second boss is interesting because it's one of the few fights in the game that aren't in a circle arena. This is Pokurage. Or I don't know how you're actually supposed to pronounce his name. But he's a prancing pony, and you want to be fighting him in a line if you can. He will fire a burst of electricity, and that burst, if you're stood near to one of these walls, it will break the wall. So we'll do that, and then he'll do this. You can go and stand in the lightning if you want to, but I wouldn't, because it gives you this lovely dot that you can't do anything about. And just quite a lot of damage as well. You'll notice he will periodically blast away all the walls. So when he does his charge attack, right, Cloud Call is nasty. If you get the Cloud Call marker on your head, you want to run away from the rest of the group because it puts vulnerability stacks on people. Whee. If you don't have a wall here, this charge will hurl you off. But either way, he's dead. But yeah, it's a nice fight. This it was very well received upon launch because obviously it's not a circular arena and what's going on. Whee. Heading up again to the answer of shame. We're almost at the end. We're only 10 minutes in. Ah, itchy arm. I love the kind of oversaturated look here and the kind of particles in the air. And again, everything in FF14 looks good because of the lighting and at a distance. And that is an impressive view. You have weathered my trial thus far, but I'm not convinced. I will try thy limits. Dragon appears here. Don't know if this actually does any damage if he breathes on you. I've never tested it. But he will raise an ice bridge over to the next platform. Another random treasure coffer here. And then it's over to the final area. Which is beautiful. I mean, seriously, the lighting on that is... Okay, so we're going to do the fight on a load of little platforms. Each of these wavy things obviously is a... If you're a tank, you can do that, and people can then fight him on two separate platforms depending on what they want to do. If you get that blue thing, you want to move out of it, because just like in the Royal Menagerie, it sticks around for a while. He'll disappear. And you will want to not be stood in that. As far as I'm aware, he doesn't have a cleave attack, so you can all fight in front of it if you want to. In fact, he doesn't even have the front-facing targeting arrow. He's also just this Diamond Storm, which does ice damage party-wide. And these ice crystals will periodically explode and put a heavy effect on you. It should be noted that the platforms just jump you all the way over if there's one in between. So it's not like you're going to fall if you accidentally hit the wrong one. Can you withstand the onslaught? You'll notice that he's summoned some shiny dragon heads now. They'll float around and get in people's way and piss everybody off. There's not a lot you can do about them. Now would be an excellent time for a limit break. There we go. Indeed. And there we go. Oh, did everybody leave? Yes, they did. So there we go. That. Oh. Actually, I'll just take a screenshot of that. So that is Sokai. Very short dungeon. If you've got that kind of a level of DPS, can be a bit harsher in normal circumstances. Even bereft of an eye, my brood brother was a fearsome foe indeed. But having tasted thy strength firsthand, I do begin to see how that's to bring him low. Madeline chooses her servants well. Very well. I shall trust in the seed of man one last time. By thy deeds shall the flickering hope that lingereth yet within my heart be kindled anew or extinguished forever. Bye, guys.
Your trial is ended as well, then?
Mine was brutal beyond reckoning. Vedfalnir seems ill-acquainted with the notion of mock battles.
That you yet stand is ready proof of your determination, mortals. Let us fight as allies then, and together banish my brood brother's vengeful shade. On my oath, the wrath that once was Nidhogg shall meet its end. Oops. This I swear on the memory of my beloved Shiva, and on the soul of lost Izel. Derpy face. Should be noted, in the Encyclopedia Eorzea, there's a really nice kind of diagram as to how the dragons in this game work. It's not that there are distinct lines of dragons. They all start out as those tiny little dragonet wingling things, and then depending on how their bodies react to ether and what kind of ether becomes dominant in them, that kind of branches them out into different things. Which I thought was quite interesting, because of course, you know, if you've got a human being, human beings produce babies that look like little human beings, and then they grow up and they look like human beings. But dragons produce little baby dragonets, and they can grow into things that look rapidly and wildly different from what it was that gave birth to them. Oh, my poor ribs. Hreysvalga saw fit to pair me with Vidofnir, but her ferocity was such that I begin to wonder if I hadn't simply imagined her injury. Yet my trial pales into insignificance next to yours. How fared you in your duel with Hreysvalga? I kicked his ass. I take from this that your battle was rather more involved than my own. Vedfalnir seemed largely concerned with how long he could keep me rolling in the dust. Between dodging, snapping fangs and slashing claws, I scarce had time to aim a blow. Had he truly meant to harm me, of course, I would not be standing here now. Plainly his intent was to teach. His onslaught forced me to recall my training about the speed of the dragon, his balance, his blind spots. It was, in short, a very thorough lesson. With me? Oh, hello, Moogles. Ow, 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 Coppo. Demajen, let me begin by congratulating you on the completion? That's not a word. The completion of your trial. For one with a name more befitting a jester, you fight with the savagery of a rabid demon. Do you see how my wings are kinked? Even my palm aches. After this drubbing, I fear my loyal servants will have to bear the load of my personal chores for quite some time, Cuppo. Possibly indefinitely. What? When I told you about Demajen's trial, I didn't mean for the rest of us to suffer. That's triple shifts for you, Morgan. Triple? Well, that's not fair. There's no justice, Cuppo. Not at all. So clearly Morgan wanted to get a little bit of payback on King Moglin and tell him about our trial and let Moglin get his ass kicked a little bit. Shrug.
Our negotiations proved rather more strenuous than I had anticipated, but the results seem well worth the effort.
Yes, we've got Hraesvalga to help us.
The battle was indeed hard won. Thank you, my friends. I would never have earned Hraesvalga's cooperation had you not seen fit to grant me yours.
That is true.
'Twas your stalwart heroism that moved the heart of the Great Worm at the last. Any gratitude I can offer is but poor reward for your continued service to Ishgard.
Twould seem our final reckoning with the dread worm is at hand. I only wish we had some inkling as to when he means to strike.
Speak of the devil.
Oh gods.
The cry heraldeth his coming. Nidhogg's shade hath taken wing.
It has begun. We must away to Ishgard.
It's time for some interesting epic action. So this next quest is called An End to the Song, and you can kind of imagine Ishgard will not last long against Nidhogg and the Horde. We must away. Cutscene time, I think. The wind whips up. Hi, Hraesvalga. Know then what this roar portends. Sadly so.
Aye. I must return to my city without delay.
Then we shall lend you our wings. Let us meet with Nidhogg on the field of battle and together bring an end to his wrathful song. They really need some animations that don't involve the roaring for when dragons land. Yes, we get to ride Hraesvalga. He'd make a cool mount, maybe a little bit large. That steely determination. Meanwhile, in Ishgard, shit is hitting the fan, if I remember correctly. Toasty! Ooh. Ah. Dive bombs. It's Artoriel. You see her. Who's already got a couple of dead dragons next to her.
Remember your training! We hold fast until the Lord Commander returns.
Love the sky in the background. It's clear that it's just a photograph that's been given a little bit of jeez.
We must hold.
Instantly, they have to assault the steps because they need to get past those final wards still. Skewered. Ching. Yeah, there were quite a few people that were confused as to why they didn't just attack the city. It's because those final wards are still in... Ooh, nice shot. Are still in place. We made sure of it last time. So they're always forced into this gauntlet.
Reinforcements! By the Fury, that one is the size of Nidhogg.
It's time for some heroic music.
Lord Commander!
Hero landing.
You are late, Warrior of Light.
Oh yes. Just a reminder that we are the hero of this story. Why do you stand with these vermin, brother?
Still walking.
Abandon this war, Shadow. The suffering you sow serves no end. The traitor's progeny have learned of their forefathers' betrayal and seek now to make amends with our kind. Never shall our grief be assuaged, nor our loss forgotten, but reconciliation may yet halt the spread of this plague of enmity. Forsake your vengeance, and be at peace. What soft-headed ramblings are these? Your dalliance with that vile maid has robbed you of your wits. Maybe her perfume has made you forget the stench of our brood sister's lifeblood. Ooh, that's probably the scariest I think we've seen him. You dare speak thus of my beloved? Ah, so the flames of rage may yet be kindled. I feared your heart's fire had long since gone out. But Waste not your fury on words, brother. You shall have need of it for the battle. Dragon versus dragon. Ooh. Not entirely sure what Estinian was planning on doing to help there. Tell you what, this must have taken the animators quite some time to do. This is that cool effect that we saw in the screenshots. Light and darkness. Oh dear, that's one of Frey's wings. Oh shit. Good. You are weak, Hrisvalga, a slithering worm who fawns on the vermin who rightly be his prey. 1,000 years were fought without cease, and you did think to prevail against me? Glory not in your victory, Shade. The battle is not yet won. My power and my hope have I entrusted to another. Ah! Your eye, what have you done? Hi. We're the Warrior of Light. We are not happy. Fool. You would trust a mortal with your strength. I know you. 'Twas you who did intrude upon my lair and best the half of me. But now I am whole. Nothing in creation shall deny me my vengeance. The final steps of faith, now accessible. Right. This might take a couple of minutes, so one moment. Okay. Right, that was quick. You get this music played all the way through the first phase, 2 phases of the fight. This fight is epic in the correct sense of the words. I do actually know roughly how this fight goes, but make sure to stack up for Akmorn. Last time people didn't. Good pull, Mr. Archer. Okay, so he's got a Coronal Breath attack. There's a reasonable amount of movement involved in this fight. Hot wing, you need to all. You're going to get hit. Yeah. Good work. So not only did he pull, but he man, people really are not watching their positioning at all. There is a lot of kind of party-wide damage in this fight, so you kind of want to make sure that you are doing as much as you can. Right, that shadow dragon in the middle can't be tanked. He's got no aggro table, you've just got to... I don't think he can. No, he'll just do whatever he wants. So you basically want to get out of his way. So always keep an eye on him. He'll charge around, he'll get in people's way. You'll notice that Nidhogg's posing there in the background. Look upon the fool who dared embrace my power. Witness the darkened wings that beat around his shrouded soul. I'm sure people don't know what this bubble actually does. It's a big regen bubble if you're low on health. Right, this is Alamorn, which is a massive tank buster. It's Akmorn that you want to be watching out for as DPS, or anybody else. Shit. Right, this is his super hyper phase. This is Akmorn. Everybody needs to stack up for this. The damage is split amongst everybody. This bard is constantly dying. Tell you what, when I did this as part of the main story, quite a few people stuck around in the chat after we'd finished, and we just talked about how epic the fight was and about how great the music was, because it took us 2 or 3 tries to get this down, and nobody got pissed off because everybody was just caught up in you know, the music and how awesome everything was. Pow. And there we go. That is Nidhogg. That was Nidhogg. Ooh. So you weren't the only first timer, said somebody. Sadly, you can't speak to Estinian or anything at this point in time. Right, I believe we've got some more cutscenes. 2 commendations.
Estinian!
Stay back.
Is this to be mine end?
Yes.
Nay, I will not allow it. I am of the first brood. I am vengeance incarnate. I am Nidhogg. Thou shalt die by my hand.
No.
This is not your hand, worm!
Thou wilt obey.
I would ask one last favor of you, Warrior of Light. Finish me, now, while I have the beast subdued!
Oh shit. Yoink.
You waste your time. Kill me! It is the only way! Ending Nidhogg will be my final duty.
No! You can't die like this! I won't let you!
Anybody for some feels? Anyone for soccer? / football, if you're British, like me. Oh wow, that texture work, jeez.
The eyes! Cast them into the abyss!
Keep in mind that that is a magical abyss where there's a huge sea of ether. It's not like they're just throwing them in a pit and hoping for the best.
He lives. Ah, Estinian, my ill-fated friend. Lucia, summon the healers. I want them ready to receive him.
At once, Lord Commander.
Allow me to do this much, at least.
It's from the guy that got stabbed in the ribs not all that long ago. Oh. I notice he's missing the bit of his wing. The Horde have sensed the fall of their master and scattered to the winds.
You have my gratitude, Hresvelga. Your deeds this day have saved a great many lives.
And our alliance has served its purpose. You did wield the power I granted thee well. Twice thine own skill and not mine eye which earned thee victory. I wish your companion a swift recovery. Fare you well, children of man.
The battle is won. We can do no more for Estinian now than bear him home and wish him well, even as Hresvelga did. The rest we must trust to the hands of the healers and the grace of the gods.
I like that little touch that they've got. They've already erected some ladders to let us get back over. Dum, dum. Through the haze of pain, I swear I sensed... But no, the past is done and we must look for the future. At long last, Nidhogg is gone. His foul spirit cast out once and for all. I only pray that Estinian survives the ordeal. He's talking about Izel there. Your battle with Nidhogg's Shade will beget many an epic ballad, and rightly so. In fact, the Wandering Minstrel will have one for us. An extreme version of that fight, which, shockingly enough, I've never even watched, I don't think, let alone done. It was, without a doubt, one of your more epochal? How am I supposed to pronounce that? I got this wrong last time.
Epochal.
Epochal, apparently. Though I must admit that I took greater joy in seeing you emerge from the experience unscathed. And only for your own sake, had you not been there to aid me, those infernal eyes would still be fused to Estinian's mail. Yet even with Nidhogg gone, I cannot help but wonder how much of our friend remains. Let us pay a visit to Lucia and beg news of his condition. So there's this is the penultimate quest. Heroes of the Hour? Yeah. Still got a good chunk of the 3.x content left to do, but this does very much feel like a climax. Demajen, Master Alphino, my honoured friends. As if winning Hraesvalga to our cause were not enough, you took it upon yourselves to rid us of his brood brother. I know not how to thank you. My own contribution was hardly noteworthy. The true saviours of the day were Demajen and Estinian. One triumphed over Nidhogg's shade through strength of arms, and the other through strength of will. And speaking of Estinian, what news of his recovery? The Azure Dragoon was conveyed to the infirmary where he now resides under the care of our hospitalier captain. I'm told he is yet to regain consciousness. But as you know, Estinian's mind and body were held hostage for many days. We must be patient and allow the process of healing to begin. In the meantime, you would do well to rest and recover from your own ordeals. But surely... Sir Emmerich is never long from Estinian's bedside and will send word the moment there are any developments. Now, if I've satisfied your concerns, I believe Lord Egmont and his sons are most eager to receive your return, to celebrate your return. Very well, First Commander. Come, Demajen, to soon we are awaited at Fort Olm Manor. Welcome, Mistress Thornley. Shall I show you inside? Yarp. Where was Manolane during that fight? Oh well, I noticed Onwar's got his own little suit of chainmail.
The heroes of the hour return.
We but did our duty, my lord. It was the memories of fallen friends and not our heroism which saw us through at the last.
Feels...
I gave every ounce of my strength, but mine efforts would have counted for naught had the Warrior of Light not arrived to challenge the Great Worm. As a sworn knight of Ishgard, I had hoped to do more for my city.
Well, we cannot all be heroes, dear brother. Let us put away our pride for a moment and revel in the valiant deeds of our comrade. For your sterling service to Ishgard, we salute you. And while we're on the subject of valiant deeds, I believe I myself have earned some small measure of recognition. Under my watchful command, the ballistas of the Outer Ward struck down a veritable swarm of Dravanian invaders.
Yes, yes, yes.
My lord's command was certainly watchful. He bravely watched as the siege crews took aim, and continued to watch as countless wyverns met their end. Indeed, the ward's defenders proved so well drilled that my lord had little occasion to stop watching.
A little bit of levity.
There will be time enough to determine who is most deserving of recognition later. Our friends are doubtless weary from their exertions.
Yes, emotionally weary.
I had chambers prepared in expectation of your return. You are welcome to retire at your leisure.
I am most grateful for your hospitality, my lord, but I believe I shall pay a visit to the Temple Knight's Infirmary. Pray excuse me.
Yes, Alphino is feeling very, very guilty about what happened to Estinian.
Our master Alphino has grown. The plight of his stricken brother in arms pains him more than his own hurts.
Yes, he's still an annoying little shit at most times, but there are some degrees of growth there.
In which respect he has come to resemble you, warrior of light. Go then, visit the Azure Dragoon, and grant him what comfort you may.
To the infirmary. Bum, 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 bum. Just think if I've got anything more to my liking to wear for the cutscenes. Let me die on me. Sir Emmerich. Demajen, my friend, what can I do for the saviour of Ishgard? You seek Master Alphino? He came to relieve me of my vigil a short while ago. When he begged to sit at Estinian's side, I could not well refuse him. Though he would sooner faint than admit it, the boy must be exhausted by Hraesvalga's trial and all that followed. Estinian is blessed to have such devoted comrades. And here we have the Litany of Peace, which is the bookend of Evansward. We get a nice fur coat, as well as a wind-up Emmerich and the Dragon Song Orchestrion roll. And this rounds off. My own friendship with Estinian began some 10 years past, shortly after we joined the Temple Knights. I learned his name soon enough, but Estinian barely recognised or registered my existence. I was less a fellow recruit and more a shadow which occasionally darkened his path. And so I might have remained had fate not seen fit to intervene. While out on patrol, our company was set upon by a dragon, and we were the only two to survive. The experience forged a bond between us, as such life-threatening situations are wont to do. Despite our friendship, he remained an intense and solitary youth, wholly obsessed with claiming vengeance against Nidhogg. Revenge was ever at the forefront of his mind. Revenge for the death of his parents, and revenge for his younger brother. I would venture that in Alphino he sees something of his lost sibling. And in the ungentle chidings of Estinian, Alphino has found the elder brother he never had. Truth be told, Estinian's tactless observations have saved me from disaster more than once, and I can well understand Alphino's affection for him. He is a friend for whom I would gladly... Lord Commander, your presence is required in the infirmary. What? Is he? Tell him I'm on my way. Quickly, we must go to him. On proceeding to the infirmary, several cutscenes will play in sequence. It is recommended you set aside sufficient time to view these scenes in their entirety. Let's go. Alphino looks upset.
Estinian.
Jumping to conclusions.
Cease your mewling, boy. It grates my ears.
He's still alive.
Forgive me. When I saw you awaken, I could not... It was such a relief.
Fake
We
out.
feared you might never wake up.
Now, Estinian. If Master Alphino thought any less of you, you would still be Nidhogg's plaything. Or dead.
Aye, 'twas but a jest. I thank you, Alphino. And you too, Warrior of Light. Quite how you managed to persuade Hraesvogr to aid in his brood brother's downfall I cannot imagine. But full glad am I that you did. Yet again, you have achieved the impossible.
Is this the first time that we've actually seen Estinian without his helmet on?
I, for my part, owe you an apology. When last we met, I did willingly loose an arrow at your heart. Can you forgive me?
There is naught to forgive, Hameric. You but acted in defense of Ishgard as is your duty. Were you any less single-minded about it, I would not follow you into battle, nor trust you at my back. Besides, I had come to the selfsame conclusion, that I would have to perish for Nidhogg to be stopped. So let us dispense with the hand-wringing. I have heard enough mewling for one day.
Oh!
The tendrils of Nidhogg's foul presence bound up every fiber of my being, usurping my senses, but I yet retained some trace of awareness.
X.
The worm's mind was as a vast and tumultuous sea. Endlessly its black waters churned, his grief and despair at Ratatoska's murder never calming, never receding. Driven by this surging current came wave upon wave of unrelenting rancor. It was the very image of my own heart. There I saw the dark reflection of the hatred I felt after Nidhogg slew my family, when no path remained save vengeance against dragonkind.
That is what we call in the writing business a parallel narrative.
Neither one of us had a choice. But I was blessed with something Nidhogg was not. Comrades and teachers to console and admonish me. Had I not had them to gainsay my obsession, it would surely have consumed me as Nidhogg's did him, and we would have been in all respects alike. Though his shade is banished, his spirit scattered upon the sea of clouds, I feel no joy at his passing. Where once I craved vengeance, I now crave rest.
Surprised?
Lord Commander, My hunt is at an end. I would lay down the mantle of Azure Dragoon.
My friend.
He has tired himself with too many words. I doubt not that he will make a full recovery, but he must be allowed some few days of quiet.
Alpha never realises he hasn't nodded in time with everybody else. Can't have that.
I too must see my path to its end. Sleep well, my friend.
Yes, whilst the Dragonsong War is technically over, Sir Emeric's path is not yet.
Following the battle with Nidhogg on the Steps of Faith, Sir Emeric called an assembly that he might make his final proclamation as acting head of state. 'Twas there, with one decree, that the 1,000-year rule of the archbishops was ended, paving the way for a new republic. The governance of Ishgard would now be placed in the hands of high and lowborn alike, their ranks represented by the newly founded House of Lords and House of Commons.
A little bit like it is in Britain, kind of.
Church was separated from state. The foundation for change had been carefully laid, and the reforms proposed by Ishgard's new government passed into law without incident. His duty done, Emeric de Burrell gladly stepped down from the Archbishop's dais, only to be raised unto the highest seat in the House of Lords.
So whilst trying to step down, they actually put him basically still in charge in a certain capacity.
Though he strove at first to refuse this honor, the unexpectedly strident voice of the Count de Durandare left him little choice but to accept. And so it was that the winds of gentle revolution came to stir. Prominent among the many honored guests at Sir Emeric's investiture were the ambassadors of Dragonkind, a fitting symbol of Ishgard's newfound peace. The people looked on in awe as he soared through the heavens on Dragonback. And by their cheers did they hail him an Azure Dragoon for a new age.
What they didn't see was him fall off a little while later. notice Hraesval's got his eye back.
Notes of the dragon song rewritten, the din of war giving way to a rising litany of peace and hope.
The Memoirs of Count Edmond de Fortomp, Heaven's Horde. Not quite over yet. I was gazing out at the sea of clouds in an all too rare moment of idleness when I chanced to behold a certain hero wending her way towards the city on Dragonback. Welcome home. Nay, it was no grave matter that moved me to greet you in person. Between you and me, I merely sought respite from the pressures of office. No sooner do I surrender my role as temporary head of state than I'm burdened with the position of a more permanent responsibility. I fancy that it echoes in some small measure the way you must feel when your improbable feats of heroism are rewarded with still more impossible challenges. The myth which guided our society for generations lies in tatters. Am I then to be scorned for building upon the system of nobility that I once sought to tear down? And what strange jest is this that places me at its pinnacle? An archbishop's bastard at the head of the House of Lords. But these questions are for me to answer. It is not in man's nature to change overnight. This I learned through painful experience. And it was this hard lesson which convinced me to take the path which we must now follow. Even as we rebuild the bridge between man and dragon, so must we reimagine Ishgard, one carefully placed stone at a time. We must remember that it is not for us that we lay this groundwork, but for the men and women that our children will become. May their towers rise proudly from the fundament of our legacy. I hear word from Captain Whitecape that Estinian has vanished from his sick room. His willfulness survives undiminished. Should you ever happen upon our unmanly friend on your travels, pray assure him that I shall keep Ishgard safe until he deigns to come home. Thank you, and please convey my warmest regards to Master Alphino. bum, 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 bum. I can't remember when we actually next meet Estinian. I remember him popping up a couple of times in the Stormblood storyline. You spoke with Sir Emmerich. I do not envy him his new position. Ishgard has chosen a new road, but one littered with the detritus of 1,000 years of broken faith. Yet, though her people may stumble from time to time, I know of no better than Sir Emmerich to lead the march of progress. As for us, there remains the small matter of ushering in a new dawn in the shadow of inscrutable Ascian machinations and a seemingly endless procession of primals. But we too must walk our chosen path, no matter how treacherous the footing. In the wake of Ishgard's governmental reform, new airship routes have been sanctioned. You may now travel to a selection of distant locales from the landing in Ishgard. So we can now head out to the other city-states, I believe, from Ishgard. But that is the Paladin of Darkness looking down over the chasm in which we threw the eyes of Nidhogg. Blanhertz. Thank you, Blanhertz. Nay, you need not remain there. We shall rendezvous at the usual place. All is proceeding as expected, then. Aye, there's naught to concern us, aside from one overly curious mouse. Hello, Thancred. This way! That's Alize, incidentally. Him again. It is of no moment. They will play their part and we will play ours. And thus did grey mists give way to azure skies, man and dragon rise above, voices join in song. Beneath shrouded boughs, beyond the scope of light, shadow stirs. Floor the Horde. And there we have it. That is the end of patch 3.3 Revenge of the Horde, which actually didn't take as long as I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to take closer to the 3-hour mark, but we tore through Sorkai and we did Final Steps of Faith first time, so that's nice. Yeah, that is the end to the Dragon Song War, insofar as the kind of general bits and pieces for 3.x goes. There are still bits and pieces that mean we need to come back to Ishgard. But the rest of the 3.x series are going to sort out the stuff with the Warriors of Darkness, first of all, which happens in 3.4 Soul Surrender, and we find out more about the rejoining and the splitting of worlds from the source and all that kind of stuff, which is really interesting. And then 3.5 is very much the run-up to Stormblood, with finding out what happened to Ida and Papalimo and the Flames resistance and all of that kind of stuff. But going back to 3.3, a lot of people see 3.3, or rather 3.0 to 3.3 as, from what I've read recently, as the kind of crowning achievement of storytelling in FF14. They look at that stretch, which is what? Probably, 9 months maybe of storytelling, maybe 10 months, something like that. And they compare that to what we've had in Stormblood. And they say, oh, Stormblood's story isn't as good as the Heavensward one. And of course they are comparing a single expansion's main story to the story of the entirety of the Dragonsong War and Heavensward. The story in Heavensward itself was alright, you know, going around with Isel and Justinian and meeting up with Hraesvelga and going through the Churning Mists and then chasing after the Archbishop and then fighting off against Thordan and in the Singularity Reaction. You know, really good story, don't get me wrong. But I wouldn't say it is in any way superior or massively superior anyway to Stormblood. Very different themes covered, very different paths taken. I would maybe argue that Heavensward is a little bit more linear and thus resonates a bit more with the player base, possibly. But I would argue that Stormblood has the better villain, and the idea that you see him right at the start and that you can follow that progress all the way through, I think is better. In fact, I think, generally speaking, Stormblood has, I don't want to say better characters, because if there's one thing that 3.0 to 3.3 has reminded me, it's that, you know, Estinian and Emmerich and Isel and even Alphino, to a certain degree, have all experienced some measure of growth and good writing and have played an integral part into the storyline. So I think it would be, I think currently, as of the end of August 2017, I personally think it's unfair to compare Heavensward to Stormblood. You know, once the kind of once the Stormblood storyline has been expanded a bit more and we get to see where it's going, then I'll be more inclined to come back and revisit this particular point of view. But there is no denying that the 3.x series, in my opinion, is far, far superior to 2.x. You know, the 2.x quests were okay, but there was nothing particularly astounding about them. 3.x just goes from strength to strength. So coming up in 3.4, which is Soul Surrender, we've got a dungeon in the form of Zelfatol, which is it's a nice looking dungeon. It's not my favourite in terms of the actual journey through it. And there are some feels, some significant feels in patch 3.4, but more importantly, we get a really good solo duty, and I do mean really good, a really important solo duty as well, which is definitely worth playing through. Anyway, that is patch 3.3, Revenge of the Horde, the main story quest. And as it starts to get dark in game, so too is the stream going to get dark, because that is the end of the stream. Ooh, lights, mood lighting. That is the end of the stream for now. Thanks you all for joining me. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and leave a comment. And I shall see everybody in the next one. For now, toodle pip.